Are you an overthinker? Comment number 1 on Spotify or YouTube if you are. Let me know if you are a fellow overthinker, because this episode and this podcast is made with you in mind. And this is a big episode for overthinkers. It has the potential to be so full of aha moments and for you to really walk away with a more focused idea on what it is that you personally need to break free from your own overthinking patterns, to take your power back from your thoughts and mind. We will talk more about what I mean by overthinking, and I will share 7 different types of very common overthinking patterns that people fall into. I will share examples of each, how it impacts your mood, and how it drives your habits and your behaviors, these kind of internal urges, probably the ones that you really want to change. To understand what I mean by styles of overthinking, it really helps to get clear on what most people think overthinking actually is. So, usually, when we use the term overthinking, we're referring to thinking that feels excessive, repetitive, and unhelpful. It's described as getting mentally stuck, right? You're going over and over things, struggling to make decisions, you're feeling caught in loops, you're analyzing, and it often doesn't really lead you anywhere. You can actually feel like you've wasted hours or, hours of your day and days of your week. And because of this, overthinking, it can feel frustrating. It gets in the way of your day, what needs to be done, productivity, and where the mind feels like it is doing too much without making progress. In everyday life, I would say, from my experience, working with people that are feeling anxious and overthinking, that we tend to focus quite heavily on the content of our thoughts. So when we're trying to free ourselves from overthinking, we are really focusing on the thoughts themselves, the situation, the trigger. We're trying to figure out what's going on externally. We focus on the situation itself. Okay, why hasn't someone messaged back? Will this worry come true? How can I stop worrying? How to solve a current problem or prepare for something in the future? And we get lost in our thoughts, our specific thoughts, that I'm not good enough. This person is no longer interested in me. We are going down those rabbit holes. Usually, if we notice that this is happening, if we do notice that we're overthinking, we often kind of stay in the overthinking because we try to fix it by analyzing the situation even more, by challenging the thoughts that we're having for hours on end, trying to replace them. We go over the details to see if we've missed something important, try to use our logic and reason our way out of, an uncertain situation. Sometimes we even attempt to question whether our thoughts are realistic or actively push ourselves to think in a more positive or balanced way. Now, as you will see or hear, for some of that, that's probably quite useful, right? There are times where that is helpful. But when we're doing it for hours on end, as you'll hear today, we are actually just feeding the overthinking loop. So we're still working in those moments with the contents of our thoughts, trying to solve the problem. A lot of the time, we're engaging with the obsessions, engaged with the trigger, the overthinking, and still giving our power away. And what I'm suggesting in this episode is that you begin to acknowledge the style of your thinking, the how of your thinking, instead of dissecting each thought or each worry that you have. By knowing the style of thinking that you personally fall into, it becomes easier to step back and notice when you're overthinking. Instead of getting caught up in it, instead of spiraling, instead of over analyzing, you can step back and take your power back in a completely different way. Plus, it then gives you better ideas on how to manage it and how to heal, because different styles of thinking will require different but similar approaches. So, guys, I am Carly Ann. If you are returning, hello, welcome back. And if you are brand new here, hello and thank you. I'm glad you found me. I'm a therapist and coach. I work with overthinkers that are ready to get out of your own head. I offer single sessions to help you understand your overthinking and to really make a plan for you to break free. If your mind feels constantly busy, fixated on something or someone, or it feels impossible to switch off, then this space is for you. This is the community for you. I really work with people whose minds get stuck in loops, replaying conversations, questioning yourself, worrying about how you come across, making up stories, and it impacts your mood and it impacts how you show up. Many of the times you'll know that I'm not behaving in a way that is who I am. It's a reaction to all of these thoughts I'm having. And I help clients to break these cycles using a modern CBT approach that combines practical tools, compassion, and genuine psychological insight into your main difficulty. Now, just a quick Google, and it doesn't take long to see that there is actually not like this set list of overthinking styles. So I'm basing this on styles that I've noticed and on, different interventions that have quite similar ideas. And I've kind of grouped these styles together. So don't take this list as 100% the only list that you either fit into or you don't. You might walk away from this episode aware of, yeah, that's the style or the styles that I fall into. Or you might just be more aware of a style that you tend to have, and you can name that yourself if you wish to. That's great, as long as you don't judge yourself for this. Learning about different styles of overthinking is going to allow you to understand how you work as an individual. It's so powerful to be aware of how you think, to reflect on when I wake up in the morning and as I walk through my day, to be able to reflect on the patterns that you fall into based on certain triggers, certain situations. And even in the longer term, recognizing the way that you approach ideas, decisions, problems. Most importantly, that we can say, hey, this is the pattern I'm falling into. And then we can name it. And then we get to choose to move back to the current moment. And leave a number one in the comments of YouTube or Spotify, or DM me on Instagram, carlyann_therapy, if you relate to this. Many people that are overthinkers will say, I am missing the moment. I'm missing my life. I'm so caught up in my thoughts in the future or the past that I'm missing the here and now. And if that's you, if you relate to that, leave a number one. Let me know that I'm speaking to my people. I want you to be able to take control of your mind, of your thinking in a really purposeful and healthy way. When you're aware of your thinking processes, I believe that you can do that. I believe that from there you can set clearer goals. I believe that from there you can recognize, you know what, I may be obsessing about that thing, but actually it's not about that. It's because this wound has been triggered, or it's because I am someone who falls into the worst case scenario thinking. And we don't need to give it much more than that before we move into acceptance and come back to the here and now. So I'm now going to list some common styles of thinking or overthinking. And if you fall into these, as I said, please don't judge yourself. Notice any feelings that come up. But remember, the reason that I'm talking about this is because this is my day job. These patterns are what I'm so passionate about helping and working with people to overcome, to take their power back. I want you to know as you hear this that it's possible to change how you think. Yes, with grit, with determination, with a willingness for change, you can make that happen. The first overthinking style is worry. Worry is the future focused, repetitive thinking spiral, often triggered by uncertainty, and it's usually about the future. It's where your thinking spirals into those future based what if scenarios that feel really hard to stop. You'll often catastrophize and go to worst case scenarios, You're negatively predicting the future and your capabilities and how things are going to go. A trigger could be so many things, waiting for a message, which leads to a spiral like, what if they're ignoring me? What if I've done something wrong? Or before an exam that you have coming up, it can spiral into, what if I forget everything? What if I then never get a job? What if I'm going to disappoint everyone I know? And your mood when you're in this worry state is usually like anxious, tense, uneasy, restless. The urges are usually things like seeking reassurance, checking things repeatedly, over preparing, keeping like thinking it through, coming up with so many solutions, plan A, plan B, plan C, and sometimes even just avoiding situations altogether. The next style is rumination. Now, rumination is more of a past focused thinking. Rumination is usually when you are going over past events, replaying situations that have happened, analyzing why things have happened, trying to understand what happened, going over, feeling like you need closure. Examples are like maybe after a conversation, you might be asking, why did I say that? You might be just making statements like, that was so embarrassing, trying to replay and, question why everything happened. You may be putting yourself in a situation where you're mind reading about what other people were thinking in a certain situation, but you're usually going over the past. And the mood is like sadness, regret, embarrassment, low mood, and often whatever emotion it is that you're going over. If you're going over a time when you felt embarrassed or a time when you felt angry, it will often trigger those same emotions. The urges are actually to keep replaying that situation again. It's sometimes to isolate and to withdraw and just to kind of sit in that. It's trying to figure it out. It's wanting to ask people why. It's feeling like you need closure. The third thinking style that I'm sharing is threat monitoring. Threat monitoring can happen internally and externally. It's triggered again, sort of by uncertainty in the environment or in your body. And it's where you're scanning for some kind of danger. That could be from the outside, it could be like rejection, someone being upset at you, something not going to plan. You are monitoring for threat, for danger. Internally, you might be monitoring, do I feel bad? Have I got any strange feelings? You can see this a lot in health anxiety or people that have a real fear of mental health. Examples might be noticing a change in someone's tone, spiraling to, are they annoyed with me? Noticing a bodily sensation and thinking, is something wrong with me? Mood is often anxiety, this hypervigilance, alertness, unease, real panic like symptoms a lot of the time when it comes to threat monitoring. The urges will be to check people's reactions, monitor your body, monitor anything, avoid situations, just constantly scanning, maybe seeking reassurance that everything is actually okay. The fourth overthinking style is, I haven't really got a name for this. For the moment, I've gone for kind of fixing, controlling thoughts. This style of overthinking can look like getting trapped kind of in this endless attempt to talk yourself into feeling better. It can seem like a positive thing. Let's say you have an uncomfortable thought, emotion, or trigger, or there's some self doubt. And instead of allowing that discomfort to exist temporarily, the mind starts trying to reason its way out of it, internally explaining, reassuring, debating with yourself, reframing, analyzing, and just almost that like trying to just think your way out of it, think positively. But the brain becomes so focused on checking whether this reassurance is working that it's almost like the discomfort stays active. And you can spend hours trying to convince yourself that you're okay and that nothing is wrong, that you've made the right choice. And ultimately, in those moments, you are overthinking. Examples might be a thought like, they're mad at me. And then that triggers a spiral of analyzing, but why would they be mad at me? I asked them how they are, and then we had a nice chat. There was that other time I was kind to them. You're kind of just going over all of these ideas, trying to rationalize. The mood, so many different moods, frustration, tension, maybe moments of relief, usually a response to anxiety. The urges are to analyze more, replace thoughts, argue with thoughts, seek certainty, mentally work on a thought until it feels right. The fifth style of overthinking that I'm sharing is self focused attention. You see this with a lot of different types of anxiety. This happens when the attention shifts away from the outside world and becomes intensely focused on you, especially during sort of social situations. Instead of naturally staying engaged in a conversation or the moment, your mind starts monitoring yourself like internally. You start to really monitor how you're coming across. Do I sound awkward? Am I acting weird? Do people know that I'm anxious? What are people thinking about me? The more inwards you turn, the more self conscious you tend to feel. So, examples, like I said, really like in conversations, am I being awkward? Do I sound okay? Do they think I sound stupid? Did I just come across as rude? The mood is that you're very self conscious, very anxious, very alert, awkward, embarrassed, those kind of things, like fearful of how you're coming across. The urges are usually to monitor how you're coming across, control your behavior, hide that you're anxious, people please if you feel like you came across a certain way. Six is self criticism. Self criticism is a style of thinking, right? It's triggered maybe by mistakes or discomfort or your perceived failure or perceived rejection, maybe just anything that you do. Some people have a real strong inner self critic, and it leads to this real spiral of harsh judgment on yourself. And you can criticize yourself for hours, days, weeks. Like I say, the examples are often maybe after a mistake. I'm so stupid. I always mess things up. If you were dating and it comes to an end, it was my fault. I didn't say the right things. I'm not pretty enough. Lists and lists of things that you'll come up with, but they are putting you down. The mood here is usually things like shame, guilt, sadness, kind of those feelings you get when you're not feeling very confident. And again, those urges to withdraw or to just mentally punish yourself. Sometimes, as well, that the urge is just to do anything to make ourselves feel better. So we almost might feel like I need to make up for that. I need to work harder. I need to, yeah, somehow like do the opposite. And the seventh style I'm sharing, which I kind of was toying with the idea of whether to bring this in, but I decided to, it's actually intrusive thoughts, automatic, sort of mental, intrusive thoughts that we have often seen in obsessive compulsive disorder. They are sudden, intrusive, unwanted images or thoughts that pop up into your mind automatically. Actually, in themselves, they're quite normal, they're quite common, but some people will really hook onto these thoughts and give them a lot of meaning. And that's when they become problematic. So if you can notice that, notice yourself doing that, then that can be really powerful. A trigger might be something ordinary, like holding a kitchen knife, and a thought suddenly appears, what if I hurt someone? Those ones are really common within OCD. The person's not going to hurt someone, let me just make that clear. Or while walking near a road, what if I step out in front of a car in a social situation? What if I say something inappropriate? These are intrusive thoughts. These are not things that you want to do. These are not things that you intend to do. And they're not things that you do. These are thoughts that are often random and do not reflect intention, but they can feel very real in the moment. So the mood is things like shock, shame, anxiety, confusion, fear, guilt. And the urges are usually to analyze that thought. Why did I think that? To check what it means about you, to push it away, to seek reassurance, or to mentally fix it. So within OCD, that's where people might think, oh, I need to now do something so that these bad things don't come true. So they are the seven styles of overthinking that I'm sharing today. Which ones do you fall into the most, or which one do you fall into the most? The idea here is, like I said, if we can get into a practice of, instead of analyzing every single worry or every single rumination, if we can not judge ourselves for these thoughts and instead name the style, I'm noticing that I'm falling into a pattern of rumination. Notice how it's not going over the single thought. It's just standing back and being like, oh, all of these thoughts are a pattern of rumination. You might even say, I notice that I'm ruminating and worrying. You know, I remember for myself on my own journey of freedom from overthinking, I would really name rumination a lot. I would say it over and over, this is rumination. I'm in it. I know that I'm in it. Sometimes it worked, other times it didn't. But now I can do it if I notice that I'm falling into any of these patterns. I recognize now it's a form of diffusion to use language to support myself to step back, to become the observer. And yes, I'm having these thoughts. Yes, there's this style of thinking. Now, when I can recognize, I'm in self criticism, it just almost gives me this moment of realization of, okay, I'm feeling this way because I'm believing all of these thoughts. But the reality is, I am just in this automatic cycle right now of criticizing myself. And the thoughts, they're coming thick and fast. And there is that balance with the fixing and controlling thoughts. There's that balance because, yes, I want to acknowledge the thoughts. I want to acknowledge my internal world, but I don't want to stay there too long convincing myself that actually I'm a good person, because then I'm just in the overthinking. So it's very much about, as soon as I can, noticing it and naming it. Write those down. I'll list them out again now. So you've got worry, rumination, threat monitoring, the fixing and controlling thoughts, self-focused attention, self-criticism, and intrusive thoughts. Write them out. Have a think about which ones you relate to the most. Just maybe pick one over the next week or so to practice naming when you're falling into it. Naming, this is self-criticism. Okay, that nothing to fix, nothing to change, not to get rid of the thoughts, just to notice, here comes that pattern again. You'll start to see patterns. You'll start to see, oh, it's always when I'm around my boss. It's always after I've had some feedback. It's always in the mornings. You'll really start to see where you fall into these patterns. And all of that is such valuable information when it comes to you reclaiming your mind, reclaiming your life, and really moving out of being stuck in these loops. Thank you so much for listening to Lessons in Overthinking and Obsessing. I will be back with the next episode where there's going to be an experiential exercise to help you notice your style of thinking. So don't miss that. There are so many other episodes for you to binge and for you to listen to that can really support you to get out of your head and to be living your life and to lean into happiness. If you want to support the show, I would be so grateful. You can subscribe, review if you have the energy. It would be amazing, and it helps others to find this podcast too. Stay connected with me. Come over to Instagram, carlyann_therapy. You can book a single session with me to break down your own overthinking and build a personalized plan to break free. The link for that is in the description. And I will be back here very soon.